Look, you're a smart RA. You bought Microsoft 365 and your tenant comes out of the box wide open. And your client's financial data is sitting inside of it, meaning a smart hacker that knows how to get in can get access to those files. And once they're in, they get access to all of it. Because, look, who are you kidding? You know that there's a ton of information in your email. And in this video, we're going to be covering why most RAs think that buying Microsoft 365 means that they are secure, but truly how to do it and the right things to do to make sure it is rock solid. So that way you do not have to worry about hackers getting in and you have dotted your I's and crossed your T's. How are you doing? My name is Harrison Barron from SecureWealthIT.com. We help financial firms just like you make sure that their Microsoft tenants are secure, making sure that they are meeting regulation S&P as well as all the SEC regulations, and making sure your technology just works the way that you want. Onboarding, offboarding, tenant, or better yet, not tenants, but employees, making sure that your printers work, your scanners work, and everything just works seamlessly the way that you really want technology to work. If you want to learn more about us, you can head over to SecureWealthIT.com. There's a ton of information on our website. The industries that we serve, we only deal with the financial firms, so RAs, broker-dealers, and financial advisors. We have a ton of resources, some new ones coming here. I've been working super hard. I've been on dad duty the last 2 weeks, so I've been trying to hang out with my child when I have the opportunity, and my wife was away. So there's a ton of cool resources in here. If you want to check those out, feel free. There's new stuff coming all of the time. SecureWealthIT.com. So let's talk about the core problem. And look, you're a smart RA. You went and you got Microsoft. Now, I'm not bashing Google by any stretch of the imagination. Google's also fantastic. Am I biased? Yes. Microsoft has everything that you possibly need to make sure that it is not only secure, but you are compliant as well. But the problem is when you buy Microsoft out of the box, the default settings are not actually that secure. Now, it is better than, nothing, but you still need to do something at the end of the day. Now, I do want to cover quickly Microsoft because some people don't know the differences. So obviously you have Microsoft.com. There's a ton of information here on their website. Specifically, you're looking for Microsoft 365 Business Premium. That is really what you want. And Microsoft 365 Business Premium starts at $22 per month. I believe that's billed paid yearly, right? Annual subscription auto renews. It's fantastic. The reason you want premium versus the regular one is a couple additional things that you get. You get Purview, which is your archiving, which can help with regulation S&P, Defender, which is enterprise-grade antivirus. You also have Intune, which is controlling Windows 11, Entra ID, and some other things in there. But basically, at its core, it has the additional enterprise-grade cybersecurity features. Now, there is with Copilot. If you're already using Claude, ChatGPT or something else, you don't need it. Some firms require Copilot, some don't, but you could also get it directly with it. It's with that additional Copilot add-on. And then there's your standard too, but that's with Copilot. And then the basic is super basic. It is pretty much not acceptable to anybody inside of the financial world. You really need the business premium because that has the ability to have those additional tiers. I shouldn't say baked in, but it comes with it, and then using them actually correctly. So what happens is Microsoft ships the tenant with basically convenience settings. Hey, we know that you need an email. We're going to get you that email as fast as we possibly can. It doesn't take the dials and switches and turn them on, off, and correctly for the security side of things. And what that means is when you go buy it, you are the account owner. In our world, we call that global admin. That means the person that is in charge of basically everything. And you get handed that. The problem with that is if you don't know what you're doing, you could get phished, which is a stray email that comes in that looks real. You click it, you accidentally download something, and hackers then have access to your entire email. If you have 10, 15, 20, 50 employees, they now have access to all 50 employees. If one of your employees gets hacked, okay, they can't go upstream, but you control the stream. That's one of the biggest things that comes into play when you're talking about security. On top of that, you might not be audit logging correctly. And that's also really important for regulation S&P because you have to make sure that you are auditing correctly and logging everything appropriately. It should automatically be in there, who's opening what was there, and it writes it in what's called worm format. Write once, read many. That's the real secret there. So, why does all of this matter? Unfortunately, RAs are a prime target. It makes it look, you are a big juicy steak to a hacker. They know that you're dealing with money, you're dealing with sensitive information, and all of that could be either extorted from you or just stolen, and they're going to grab all that information. God forbid, maybe you did the right thing, but your client sent sensitive information, wire information, bank account information, God forbid, logins for their bank account. Oh, the list goes on and on and on. You are a prime target. And it doesn't matter if you're big or it doesn't matter if you're small. They actually prefer small companies because they're not hardening their systems, just like I'm talking about in this video. And last but not least, compliance, right? And before you're like, Harrison, what is the point of all of this? I'm going to share with you what you should be doing to make sure that you don't have to worry about your system, or at least you can know the right questions to either implement yourself or have a technology person specialist help you with that. But the big thing is, for your sanity, is regulation S&P from the SEC. Right? The regulation S&P was amended in 2024 and is the deadlines have passed at this point. It was in December. It was also in June 3rd of 2026. They are coming for people. And if you manage under $1.5 billion, you are now subject to this. That's it. You have to be compliant now. And they are cracking down the next couple of years. They've already publicly said it time and time and time again. They are coming after the 4 big requirements. That is firms with a written incident response program, a written notify customers of certain data breaches within 30 days, overseeing service providers, and keeping compliance records. Those are the big 4 that they're really, really worried about. You have to make sure that you abide by all of these. So I've given you a ton of information. You're probably like, Harrison, just tell me what I need to do. I just have one quick ask. Hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. So let's talk about what you can do to harden your tenant. Because the goal of this video is not to scare you, but you'd be so surprised how many times somebody comes to us and wants to work with us, and we go in there and there is no security settings turned on at all. And sometimes they might work with another technology professional. We take them over and realize nothing was done because they don't know the industry and they don't know how to harden the tenant. So let's dive through the 7, right, hardening moves that you can do. Now, some of these you could probably do yourself. You could stumble through, you can Google them. It's not terribly difficult. I'm not going to show you them because it does take a little while to do it. But first is kill legacy authentication and enforce phishing resistant multi-factor authentication. What that means is instead of just signing in and you put in your password and you get in, you have to make sure that there is an additional multi-factor authentication that happens, meaning either a text message or something of that nature. Now, the important part is phishing resistant. The new thing is going to be either you get the 6-digit code that you use on an authenticator, that's really secure, or scanning it with your phone and then using biometrics to unlock that. That is also super, super secure. But unfortunately, phishing resistance, you might be conned or believe that something's happening when it's not, and now you send off the text message or send off that code to the wrong person. It's not good. The second thing is lock down admin access. Nobody in your business should be an admin other than you. If you are hiring a IT company, they should be the global admins, not even you. Because the less privileges that you have, the safer it is and the easier stress you have. Because if everybody has global admin, everybody has access to everything. That is no good, right? You want to use what's called privileged identity management. So admin rights are temporary and not standing, basically controlling who has access to what. That's the very oversimplified, and I don't want to go super, super deep on this. 3, harden email against phishing and spoofing. Phishing and spoofing. Phishing is an email that comes in that looks real. And spoofing is kind of similar where it's an email that pretends to be another email with unsafe information in it. You want to turn on safe links and safe attachments. It's just a little setting in Microsoft. It's really not that bad. You also want to set up what is called SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. so nobody can spoof your domain. You basically add these records to your domain, and it tells every server under the sun that says, hey, we are legit. It is very, very hard to set up a spoof where somebody temporarily looks like you until it gets flagged. That's really what spoofing is, right? It's pretending to be somebody else. Phishing is more of like a pretend to be somebody else's email. Spoofing is pretending to quite literally be somebody else. You want to set those up so that way you look as real as possible and other servers know, hey, this is a real account. And your email also knows, hey, if somebody else is trying to set this up, no, we are the real one. That's the most important thing. 4, turn on and tune audit logging. You don't need to log every single thing, but you have to make sure that you're abiding by regulation S&P. That is the backbone of the entire backbone of regulation S&P for the most part is audits and logging. When you go through this, you have to be able to prove what happened and when it happened. You can set alerts for risky sign-ins, mass file downloads. There's a ton of different features in there, but you want to turn on and tune correctly. You don't want to log every single thing, but you want to log the important things inside of there. Or heck, turn it all on. It's better to have it logged than not have it logged. It's just more information to go through down the road if something ever does happen. Number 5, protect the data itself. Data loss prevention rules stop social security numbers, account numbers from leaving your system. You want to make sure that things are correctly labeled, so sensitivity labels and encryption on client files. It's not that hard, but you can encrypt your files so that way they have to either put in a password. You can call them and let them know. You could text them that there's a password so they can't just click on it, open it, and they get access to it. Or you can say, hey, as long as this person gets this email, that's when it becomes unlocked. That's that encryption level, but you need to protect the data itself. It is super, super important. Number 6 is manage the devices. Intune is Microsoft. We talked about it just before. That's why I kind of went over it, right? If you go to Intune in here, which is Intune, it's that little, I don't know, that little X looking thing, right? Intune is really important because Intune allows you to control basically all the devices that have access to email. So that means there's no unmanaged laptop touches. Basically, no device that is not supposed to have an email can touch that email address. You can control that, and you can say, hey, this person should or should not have access to it. And you can even lock it down to prevent certain devices from even accessing email, whether if it's a non-company registered device, you can set that as well. And you want to make sure that you require encryption and screen locks, meaning the device will automatically lock its screen after a couple minutes, and also encryption, whether that's multi-factor authentication or just keeping that data encrypted on its machine itself. And then last but not least, number 7 is watch your Microsoft Secure Score. Say that 3 times fast, right? It is a live scorecard that basically shows you how hardened your device is. Now, for the finance world, it has to be fairly hardened. There's other industries like HIPAA, right, where they have to be super, super, super locked down to the point where even USB ports stop working on a computer. You can actually turn those off. In our world, we want to make sure that we are hardened enough that it doesn't become annoying to work, but we can rest at night knowing, hey, we are safe and secure. Because in the security world, you can either be super secure or super easy to work with, right? You have to figure out that process. There is usually a sweet spot in the middle. In cases like HIPAA, where you have to constantly make sure things are locked down, they are much more towards the side of we have to take every precaution, every single thing, all the time, because they don't want the health records being leaked online. In the case of you probably being at home where you don't really care and you might not have sensitive information on hopefully a recreational computer, you could just jump in. If something happens, whatever, you lose a couple pictures of your family members. It's not the worst thing in the world. But the last thing that you want is a hack or a breach or even the SEC giving you fines. But I do want to give you one last golden nugget because I love giving golden nuggets out. There is a huge gap that most firms miss, and that is the backup gap. Now, Microsoft does not fully back up your data. Unfortunately, that's on you, right? Deleted emails and files age out, right, over time, a ransomware hit or an angry ex-employee can wipe that out. You have to make sure that you are backing your data up into either something like Microsoft Purview, which is they do provide it, but you have to set it up. It doesn't just come set up out of the box, or using another archiving tool to make sure that there's backed up data. So, God forbid anything does happen, you still have all of the records and everything is still accessible over time. I hope you found value in this video. I know this video is a little bit more tough, but I've been getting a lot of questions on we have Microsoft 365 Business Premium. I know that we're safe, and if you don't set it up correctly, you are not actually safe. If you found value in this video, hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, and I'll see you on the next one.